Hi everyone, it's Cam. I'm going to do a video about how to do an oracle card reading. Now, I don't consider myself an expert, so I'm going to just start off with that. All right. I am self-taught. I'm not a certified angel card reader or anything like that. Totally self-taught. So I'm just going to share how I do it. I know there's like so many other ways and stuff like that. So I'm just going to share how I do it. And you take a little bit of information from here, you take some information from there, you take what resonates, you put it all together and figure out what works best for you. That's how you do it. So I'm just going to give you some tips on what I do. All right, so this is Doreen Virtue's Angel Therapy deck. I use many other decks. This is one of my favorites. I also have my fairy deck and my earth magic cards. Oh my gosh, love them. And my crystal cards from Naisha Ashian that I absolutely love too. But just for sake of this video, I have these out. I just thought to do this video just seconds ago. I was walking by I walked into my Zen den and saw my altar and I just saw my cards. I said, oh, I'm going to do a video about how to do an oracle reading. So how do I do an oracle reading? Again, many ways. This is how Kim does it. So I got my deck. I intuitively decide which deck I'm going to use. If you have more than one deck, you just kind of have to intuitively go with that. I mean, or you ask your client if you're doing it. If you have clients or whatever, you can give them the opportunity to choose as well. So you just kind of go with your intuition or what your clients want. If you have one deck, then you don't have that problem. Now, I think it's important when you get a new deck to get to know your deck. All right, and first you got to clear it. And with anything you get, a crystal or anything metaphysical, anything you're going to use for metaphysical purposes, you want to clear. All right, so let's say you get your brand new deck, you're going to clear it. And I know there's different ways you knock on it or whatever. I don't know. I guess you can do that. I just get my new deck. I run it through some sage. I play my singing bowl because I just think that sound clears space. I run it over sage. Sometimes I'll put selenite on it. That's the one thing that I do. I'll put selenite on it and under it. Okay, so I mean, I just kind of clear it. However you clear anything, whatever you use, your intention, the sunlight, the moonlight, whatever, however you clear things, you can do. I don't know about the knocking or whatever. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying that. I just go with whatever feels right to you. So I get a new deck. I say hi to it. I'm like, hi. I'm always so excited because, you know, it's all colorful and new. This one's like all beat up, but we're like besties, you know, my BFF. So you get your new card. You open it up. You clear it, you know, however you energetically clear. And just kind of go through it and get to know and look at all the different pictures, you know, look at them, get familiar with what they say. Now, it's up to you whether you want to read the book or not. I usually read the introduction just so I understand if there's a certain way the cards should be used, because sometimes there's actually an intention behind it, a certain kind of thing that they want you to do, or they explain why that the deck is made a certain way. So I do read the introduction. Most of the time, I don't even read the little manuals that, like the descriptions. The only two decks I ever read the descriptions was this deck, because it was my first deck ever, and so I really didn't know how to read cards. So I did go through and read Doreen Virtue's interpretations of the cards. I don't even know how much of it stuck, but I did read it. I did go through and read it. When I do a reading, I don't go, oh, what does cancel, clear, delete? I don't go and like look it up in the little book anymore. It's just that I read through it once to get a general understanding, which is probably a very good idea. The other deck that I'd actually read too was Naisha Ashian's crystal ally cards, because she's got amazing descriptions of her crystals. It's very different than other people and their interpretations. So I do love to go back and read her interpretations of the cards, because I just find it so different than what a lot of times you would think. So I really enjoy doing that. Other than that, I really don't even take any consideration to what the author had in mind, except for whatever's just written on the card. I interpret it how I interpret it, you know, and that's kind of where I go with it. So when I get my deck, I do that. Cleanse it. I get to know it a little bit. Read through the book if necessary. At least read the beginning. I do think it's important to read the beginning and see if there's any intention or special information you need to know. All right, so you get your deck. You're about to do your reading. I know you could do however you want. Whenever you're doing your reading, you do want to cleanse your space, cleanse yourself. You always want to start off with that. So cleanse myself, cleanse my space, get all ready, got my sacred space ready, light a candle, light some incense, do some aromas, whatever it is you do. To get yourself ready. Again, another technique, which you have to be in the zone. See, there are people that they say they do readings, and they just go and they take a deck and they just go, oh, okay, you know, I'm going to pick this card. Oh, you're an indigo, you know. Well, I don't know. Are you? I mean, you just kind of randomly picked a card. I think there's something you can randomly pick, or you could actually really have a connection with your cards and get good, solid messages. And I can tell you that I know when I am randomly picking a card. It feels so wrong. And I'll be like, you know what? I'm not doing this right now. I'll have to come back to it when I feel better about it. And I could just tell when it's a random, like, versus really, really getting a message for that person or for yourself. Okay? So I think that's important. And that takes practice. I used to not know, but now I do. Now I know whether it resonates or not, you know, or whether it's a legitimate reading. So you get yourself into some kind of meditative state. You're not going to be in meditation because you need to be able to manipulate the cards, but you do want to be in some kind of alpha state, very relaxed. You can even have some really good music. Something about music really helps you. Helps me anyway when I have to do any kind of reading like this. Keeps me very focused. So you take your cards, and there's different things you can do with them. I mean, I take my cards and I shuffle them. All right, these cards I can actually shuffle. They fit in my hand. I have some cards that don't even fit in my hand. I find that frustrating. Naisha's deck doesn't fit in my hand, and I have to put them on the table and push them all around. Which I do that too, but it actually ruins your cards. You can actually ruin your cards that way. So be careful. So I shuffle them. I always want to shuffle them. I don't bend them and do like you do a deck of cards. I don't do that. I just kind of shuffle them. And then it depends, and I promise you that it's different every time. Sometimes I will split them into 3, and I think I did a video the other day, and I just split them into 3 and lay them down and pick the middle. So if I split it into 3, let's say for example, I might just go ahead and pick the top card in the center. You know, I might do something like that. Or most of the time what I do, I was doing it on video, so I couldn't shuffle while I was doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because I was videotaping. I needed my hands. Most of the time when I'm doing a reading, I will shuffle. And when a card, like that one right now, just flew out, sacral chakra, that to me is like, yeah, work on that. Hell, I already know about that, dude. I know about that sacral chakra. I know I got to work on it myself. So, that's kind of how I pick the cards. Like, I kind of shuffle with the intention of, okay, what does Mary need? What is in Mary's highest interest or best interest? What does she need to know? And I'll shuffle until I come up with the 3 cards or however many. That's usually how I do it when I'm doing somebody's reading, until I just intuitively feel. There are some times, though, when I'm just not feeling it, you know, like I'm not trusting what I'm getting. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the way making the decision. And so when that happens, I do something a little different. I just saw something go behind me. It was probably dust. Don't get all crazy. Sure, it was just dust. No, my house isn't very dusty, but still, it was probably just dust. Alright, so what I'll do is, and I don't know how I can show this on the video camera. Well, maybe I can. what I do, I'm going to take this down. I will put cards like in a row. This is hard for me to do like this, okay? I don't even know if I'm doing that. Do I have it? Do. So it's hard for me to do. Right, so I might split my deck into 3, and I'll go, should I pick from this pile? And my pendulum is giving me an absolute unsure. It's just swinging, so I'm not quite sure. So should I pick from this pile? And it went to no. Okay, you have to know your pendulum. And then I'm going to this pile. And it's actually giving me a yes. It's going back and forth. So sometimes I'll do it like that, and so then I'll know just to work with this pile. Does that make sense? So you can sometimes narrow down your deck by using your pendulum. It can help you. Another thing that I did this one time for somebody. It took me a long time. They laid out all the cards. I don't know, there's 44 cards in this deck or something like that. And I laid out in rows of 4. I had 4 rows, so I guess it was like 11 cards, and then another row, 11 cards. I took my pendulum and I went to the top left and I said, should I pick this row? If it said yes, I held off on that, and then I would go, like, I would try to figure out which row I should pick from. Should I pick one from this row? If it said yes, I would pick one from that row. If it said no, I would move on to the next row. Or sometimes another way to do it. I know I'm confusing you guys, but I'm just giving you options. Another way to do it is to just lay out your cards and see where your pendulum goes. So if you just have like all your cards laid out, you just take your pendulum and just see when it starts moving over an area. Like, does it all of a sudden, because this happens, it'll just start swinging. I'm making this swing. It'll just start swinging over a certain card, and you're like, oh, hell yeah, that's the one. Right? So those are just different ways to use your pendulum then to do a reading too, to help you with the cards. Okay, so we talked about how to select the cards. So they fall out of the deck, or you use your pendulum in different ways. Okay, so those are usually a good way to pick your cards. Now, when you get your cards, now you can do it in different ways, and like I said, whatever works for you. You can do a 3-card reading, a 6-card reading, a 9-card reading, whatever works for you. And this is introductory. I'm not even going to go into detail about that, because you have to understand that a tarot reading is different than an oracle reading. In oracle readings, you can actually be as flexible as you want. There's really nothing. You can't do it wrong, okay? There's no like really right or wrong way to do it. So each manual might actually give you, it'll give you an idea of what it is. So it'll say like, the first card is the past, the second card's the present, the third card's the future. I think that's what it said with this. It depends. I don't really buy into past, present, future so much. I don't do that. And you guys know when I do readings, I just kind of do like here and now. I will sometimes say, oh, I feel like this is like a past issue, or I feel like this is something that, might be coming down. But I don't really specify this is past, present, or future. I just don't do that. Other people do. That's cool. You do what you want to do. So when you're doing your reading, then you get your card and you look at it. Okay? And this is where you really have to, be intuitive. Oh, God, listen to your intuitive feelings. Oh my God. See? That's what I'm talking about. Listen to your intuitive feelings. You look at the card. Some of the cards will actually have writing on them. So this one actually does, and it gives you a little something. It says your body is receiving accurate messages from the divine. Okay? So you can kind of go with that, and then build upon it. And you can also look at the picture. And so sometimes looking at the picture really gives you ideas. Like In this one, there's a rainbow. So you can then go with, you know, focusing on like the symbolism of the rainbow, or you know, the colors could represent the chakra, could represent your inner child, could represent that there's a rainbow at the end of the storm. Okay. There's roses in here, could represent the woman's name. It could represent life, rebirth, springtime. You have to interpret how you feel based on that client, that person. So it's going to differ for everybody. When, you know, when you look at it, it's not the same for everybody. And that's where you can really differentiate between readers. Are they just reading the card, what the book says? Or are they taking the card and interpreting it based on you and what they're picking up about you? So that's really the big that's I don't want to say that's the challenge, but that's where it's important, is how you interpret and read the cards. And so it's really all about using your intuition. That's why it's important to be in a very good, like, meditative or in the zone kind of state, so that you can receive these messages and be open to it. Now, when you're doing readings, you can use crystals too. I love to use my celestite for when I'm doing readings. I find it really helpful. I also use my labradorite. You guys know I love my labradorite. I don't have it out, but I use my labradorite when I'm doing readings. Also, danbarite is really good. Apophyllite, clear quartz. There's so many that could really be helpful. So I hope that helps. Oh, I do want to say, when you're done with your reading, to make sure that you put your cards back, you know, thank your cards. I also cut any cord. So if you're doing a reading with somebody, you want to make sure that you disconnect with that person. And also, I think it's really important to keep your cards in a sacred space. I mean, I know some people say keep it in a velvet pouch or wooden box or whatever. All different kinds of techniques, guys. I keep mine on my desk, which is my altar. It's a sacred space. And I keep this actual, well, not this one, I have a different one, but I do keep a piece of celestite right on top of my deck. Or sometimes I'll put selenite underneath and I'll put my celestite on top. I just feel like I'm charging up my cards with the energy of the crystals, so that the cards stay clear but also have the energy of the crystals. And I think that really helps with readings as well. So that's how I do it. I know there's so many ways. I hope this gives you at least some guidance to get started on doing some oracle readings. If you're just starting out, I recommend you do oracle versus the tarot, because the oracle is a lot easier to interpret, a lot more flexibility. All right, so thank you for joining me. I hope that helps. Please let me know in the comments below. If you have any other tips for doing oracle readings and how it's going for you, please take a moment to subscribe. And as always, have a blessed day. Bye.